Ross Kaminsky Show.
You're a great American.
He's a great guy.
Now, Ross Kaminsky on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
Hey, one quick follow-up on Dan Caplis's promo there for his show this afternoon. I was just texting with a friend of mine who I won't name, talking about some of the stuff that's going on in the Democratic race here in Colorado, Hickenlooper versus Romanoff. And I'll tell you, the big winner in what's going on with all this stuff right now is definitely Cory Gardner. I mean, Cory Gardner has long been thought of as one of the most vulnerable, maybe the most vulnerable member of the United States Senate up for re-election in 2020. And yet, what does he have going on right now? I mean, the front-runner, John Hickenlooper, doesn't seem to want to answer a question, stumbles around almost as badly as Joe Biden. Oh, my gosh, did you see Joe Biden yesterday? Joe Biden did this thing. I don't know where he was. He was somewhere in Pennsylvania, not too far from his basement. And he got up and he said, President Trump, wake up. And he said it so slowly and woodenly, it was laugh out loud funny. He was telling President Trump to wake up in a tone that made it seem like he was asleep or sedated or something. It was hilarious. He has no idea what a joke he's making of himself. And I'm telling you, Hickenlooper is drifting in that direction. And then this ethics stuff, which I got to say, I got something wrong on the ethics stuff. I didn't think it would stick nearly as much as it is. I talked about this a little bit the other day. It's sticking to him a bit. And remember, Hickenlooper is a guy who, except for maybe his first election, has not faced a serious competitor in an election. So it's been years since Hickenlooper had any kind of serious challenge. And I've often thought that Hickenlooper is a guy who probably can't take a political punch. And it sure is showing that way. But again, what I got wrong was I thought this ethics stuff seemed kind of ticky-tack, you know, the ref throws the flag on something you think was barely a foul. And I thought it's just not going to stick. But the Denver Post is reporting it. Denver Post is putting it on the front page. The Hill national website had it at the top center of their page a couple of days ago. Hickenlooper's ethics stuff. He was found guilty by the Colorado Ethics Commission, and they fined him a couple $1,000 here and there. Not big money, but the biggest fine that I think that commission has ever fined any that they've ever done. Not that they've done a lot, but still, it's bad. And my friend, who is very close to nuts and bolts politics here in Colorado, he says that Hickenlooper looks like he might be in trouble in the primary. I still think Hickenlooper wins the primary. I think he comes out of it very weakened. I still think he wins the primary. I still think that I would rather, if I were Cory, I think I would rather run against Romanoff than against Hickenlooper, even in his weakened state now. But if Hickenlooper's standing and reputation and behavior weakens any more than it is now, I might change my view and say I'd rather run against Romanoff. But my friend notes that the DSCC, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, which is the umbrella organization of the Democratic Senate that aims to win more seats and protect incumbents for Democrats in the Senate, that they are running ads in Colorado now. That's a new thing. And as my friend says, the fact that they're running ads in Colorado now says that they are worried. And Cory Gardner, or people supporting Cory Gardner, are running some very aggressive ads against John Hickenlooper. And I was thinking about the timing of that. If you were a Cory Gardner supporter, why would you run ads against Hickenlooper right now? And I think there's two main reasons. Number one, even with Hickenlooper as weak as he is, given that most people who are paying close attention are kind of political junkies, and a lot of the moderates and the suburban moms and all that are really not paying attention right now, maybe you think you can weaken Hickenlooper enough with these aggressive ads against him that people will vote for Romanoff in the primary, and then you get to run against Romanoff in the primary. And so that's a win for you if you think Romanoff is a weak opponent for Cory. And I do think that even though Andrew Romanoff is a nice guy and a smart guy, he is rabidly left. I realize that a lot of people think that Colorado is a blue state now, and arguably it is a bluish shade of purple or a purplish shade of blue. But Andrew Romanoff, in terms of his policy positions, would be out there with AOC on a lot of things, and I'm not exaggerating. He is way out there. He wants socialized medicine. He wants the Green New Deal. He wants to eliminate the Electoral College. He's that kind of guy. So I think for Cory or his supporters running ads against Hickenlooper right now, it's kind of a win-win. Because either they get Romanoff as the winner of the primary, and they'd rather run against him, although to be sure, winning a surprise primary like that over a big favorite with big name recognition like John Hickenlooper would give Romanoff, at least initially, some strong momentum. But if they get Romanoff, they don't mind running against a rabid leftist. And if Hickenlooper ends up winning anyway, despite all these ads, they end up getting to run in the general election against a much weakened John Hickenlooper. So that's where we are right now. I didn't mean to talk about that for that long, but it's important, and it's getting more and more and more in the news. I mean, we are, 4.5 months now from the election. Isn't that crazy? I mean, doesn't it seem like we just had the 2018 elections? And even it doesn't even really seem like it's been 3.5 years since President Trump was inaugurated. Look, I know a lot of people hate Trump, and to them they'll say it feels like it's been a lifetime. I get that. But really, I'm kind of neutral on Trump. I love some things. I hate some things. Gosh, the last 3.5 years has gone pretty fast. All right, I got a lot I want to talk about now about all the nuttiness that's going on with hypersensitivity, I guess I'll put it, about race in the United States of America. And I'll say straight up, as a radio show host, I do feel like I need to be pretty careful these days about what I say. More careful than usual. I was talking with a friend of mine, and we were talking about media people, broadly speaking. And I said, I think most people in media know not to cross the line in certain things that a person might say when talking about race relations on the radio. And this friend of mine, who's pretty senior in the radio business, said, I think that's true, but also you got to remember the line isn't where it used to be. And I think, as a guy who speaks my mind for a living, and as a guy who I think that listeners know, I don't think any honest listener would ever call me racist or homophobic or any of those things. Because I'm not. I'm not saying that to be defensive. It's just, it's really actually kind of hard to find a fill-in-the-blank-ist libertarian. We just, our brains don't really work that way. But it's a difficult time because almost no matter what you say, someone is going to, especially someone on the left, is going to look to take offense. They want to be offended. And they want to make a thing out of it. There are things that people could say, people in media could say, where I would say that person needs to be fired for that. But 90% of stuff that people say in media or on Twitter or wherever that people complain about is stuff that maybe is a little edgy or maybe isn't. And yet you feel like you're walking on eggshells. And I do a little bit. I don't know if I should be sharing that with you, but I do. Every once in a while, humor is a great way to deal with this stuff. I want to share with you a piece from the Babylon Bee, and if you were listening much earlier, this is a different piece from the Babylon Bee from the one I shared 3 hours ago on the show. If you don't know the Babylon Bee, I'm not going to tell you about it. But you can go to babylonbee.com and scroll down to where it says About Us, all the way at the bottom middle of the page, and read there, and then you will know what the Babylon Bee is. And I encourage you to do so. I do not own any stock in Babylon Bee. I do not know who owns Babylon Bee. I have no connection to Babylon Bee other than just being a reader. Dateline Menlo Park, California. I'm going to share with you the story on their website from this morning. A new nonprofit organization is teaming up with app developers to help people of color find and adopt white liberals to speak for them. The program is called Adopt a Voice, and it will help people of black and brown descent express what they truly desire, think, and mean to say. I signed up for it, said African-American Bradley Trent from Columbus, Ohio. They paired me up with a 37-year-old white girl named Claire who claims to be bisexual, but as far as I can tell, she just really likes cats. When asked what his opinion of the program was, Claire responded on Bradley's behalf, quote, Bradley is just so grateful to have his voice heard, especially on key issues like women's right to choose, climate change, and especially trans issues. Bradley later commented, quote, I had no idea that's what I meant to say. Amazing. At Adopt a Voice, now back to a quote, at Adopt a Voice, we know that speaking and thinking for yourself can be challenging. We have a huge team of interpreters who know exactly what ethnic minorities are really thinking, what they really want, and what they really mean to say, said Program Director Eve Zohar. We know that every person of color will thank us for what we say on their behalf, and if they don't hate themselves. End quote. To adopt a white liberal of your own, visit the Adopt a Voice website or download the app and sign up today. Now, that's freaking hilarious. But it's also really serious satirical commentary on what's going on in the United States of America right now. You know, again, I don't know where the line is. I don't know what I can talk about and what I can't talk about. Just talk and do my best job being honest. And I was thinking a couple of times now during the show about the news broadcast that I heard here on KHOW. And they've got a guy talking about a friend of his who I presume is African American. And his friend apparently said to him, I don't feel comfortable. Now, I shouldn't assume that his friend is African American. I don't know that that was in the news report. He just said, my friend said to me that I don't feel comfortable bringing my young daughter to Stapleton anymore. It doesn't feel welcoming to me. And the more I think about it, actually, the more I think that his friend is probably white. And I just want to know, why is it that we are either letting woke white liberals or a small number of woke African Americans drag communities around, getting them to change their name after, first of all, 2 votes of that community voted, twice they voted not to change the name. The last vote was 2-1 against. But this is really the main thing. It's not even that. It's that the dude, Stapleton, yeah, he was a member of the KKK for a while, and then he wasn't. He left them and got reelected again. He opposed the KKK after that. Complicated person, just like so many people are. He did good things for Denver, too. But most people don't know any of that. They don't know any of it, and yet still we're on this rampage.
This is Denver's Talk Station with Ross Kaminsky in the morning and Dan Kaplis in the afternoon. 630 KHOW, Denver. Now, Impact Traffic.